love to have the big guys join the fight.
On this edition of Talking About the Movies, we see that the more you take Michael Bay away from these movies, the more fun these movies really get. It's the 7th installment of the Transformers series, Rise of the Beasts. Welcome to another edition of Talking About the Movies, and as always, we take a look at the latest new release, the biggest new release of the weekend. And this weekend, of course, it is Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Now, before we jump into this movie, we might as well go ahead and talk about the other films in the series. Let's go all the way back to 1986 with Transformers the movie, the animated film of the original TV series, which, I gotta say, I never saw the original TV series, but I have seen the movie. It's freaking fantastic. The soundtrack is amazing. The voice work in that movie is amazing. The action is great. The animation is great. It takes chances. It takes risks. And it's a fun movie. It's an enjoyable film. Moving ahead to the first Michael Bay Transformers film in 2007, it's fine for what it is. I mean, it delivered what it promised. It delivered the Transformers in live action. You got to see them fighting. You got to see the cool effects on the big screen. It wasn't the best movie overall story-wise, but it did deliver everything that it promised on that front. So I still hold that first movie into high regard. Dark of the Moon, you could definitely tell, was affected heavily by the writer's strike because of course the fact that Michael Bay had to rewrite the script for that while also directing the film, and the results speak for themselves. Also, the film was just way too long. It got way too cluttered. It was taking itself way too seriously, and I still like some parts of it, but at the same time, I will fully admit that the movie definitely is a major downgrade compared to the first movie. The third film, Dark of the Moon, I do like. I think it works a lot better than Revenge of the Fallen does. I still don't think it's a great film overall, but it does deliver all the stuff that I kind of liked about the first movie all over again. So on that front, I do appreciate that film more than I think most people do. But in terms of Age of Extinction and The Last Night, never saw them. I never saw them. I was kind of curious about Age of Extinction because Mark Wahlberg had worked with Michael Bay previously on Pain and Gain, so I thought maybe that'd be cool, but never saw the other two movies because everyone kept saying it's basically just the same stuff from the previous films. They don't do anything different. There's nothing that it's the same Michael Bay tropes, and I didn't see Age of Extinction. I certainly didn't see Last Night because everyone said, again, it was the same thing as before. Like, it was getting to the point, I think at that point they realized that Michael Bay's got to go. So, and then after that we got Bumblebee, which is, of course, the prequel to Transformers, and I think, personally, that's the best movie they've done in this series so far in live-action form. I mean, the opening scene alone, when we actually go to Cybertron, and we actually get to see Cybertron for the first time, and we see a cleaner version of the robots compared to what we've seen in the previous films, that alone made that all the more worth it. Plus, you had a great director in Travis Knight, taking a concept that's been done before. It's basically the E.T. story in the world of Transformers, which takes place in the 1980s, and it made for a very fun film. I still go back to that movie a lot. It's a really damn good movie. And so now we have Transformers Rise of the Beast, which is I guess it's a standalone sequel to Bumblebee and still kind of a prequel to Transformers. And this time it's directed by Stephen Caple Jr., who did Creed 2, which is the least of my favorite films in the Creed series, but I still really enjoy that film a lot. So naturally, I was very excited to see what they would do here. In addition to that, they also have Anthony Ramos from In the Heights, Dominique Fishback from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, two people I really liked in those movies, and I was really excited to see where they were going to go from there. And this movie is just more proof that if you take Michael Bay away from the Transformers movies, you get really good movies out of it, because this is, of course, the second live-action film without him in the director's chair, and it's already showing the massive improvements of where the series can go from here. I mean, this is a fun movie. Now, granted, story-wise, it's another one. It's kind of a similar story compared to the other films. This one takes place in 1994 Brooklyn. They did a pretty good job of recreating 1994 New York, as you see the World Trade Center in the background, and they did a pretty good job of recapturing that. But for the most part, the movie is very solid. The acting overall is very good. I mean, like I said, two great young actors, in Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback, who work off each other very well. It's a cast that includes a lot of notable names in here, not just on human form, but also in the Transformers roles. Of course, you have Luna Laura Velez, who of course plays Miles' mother in the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movies. Michael Kelly is in here playing an agent in here who plays a part into something that I'll get into in just a little bit. And then, of course, you have the Transformers. Once again, Peter Cullen is back as Optimus Prime. Ron Perlman is in this playing Optimus Primal, who is, of course, the leader of the Beast from Beast Wars. You have Peter Dinklage, Michelle Yeoh, Pete Davidson, Liza Koshy, John DiMaggio. Just a really incredible cast of talented people. And they create a very fun movie. It's a fun adventure film. It's a good example of a good summer escapism entertainment. This is the type of movie that you go into a movie theater, you grab a cup of popcorn, you grab your drink, and you just sit back, you have a good time with it. You just enjoy what you have here, and the movie overall is very, very fun. The action sequences are a lot better compared to the other movies in the series, the Michael Bay ones, because you can actually see what's going on, and the way that the visuals look in this movie are incredible. Peter Cullen, I think, gives another fantastic performance in here as Optimus Prime. And it's cool to see the Beast Wars characters in here as well. I was never that big of a fan of the Beast Wars series when it aired on TV on Fox Kids back in the day, but I knew of their existence, so I knew who they were. I knew what they were capable of, and to see them on the big screen like this, it's really cool to see that. And you could just tell that the people who wrote this movie have a better idea of what these movies needed to have. You can have the robots fighting each other, you can have all the visual effects in the film going on, but you also need to get invested in your human characters. Like the first Transformers movie, you can get invested in the human characters there, but as of course as the series went on, you don't really care about them. But in here, you do really care about the human characters. There are good moments in there where they have time to shine. They have moments where they have time to emote. They have time to where they're actually part of the storyline, and it leads to a lot of really good possibilities and a really lot of good likability to them. The characters overall are very good. And like I said, it's the visuals are fantastic. There are a lot of great moments in here when the visuals really do shine. There's a lot of moments in there that are really incredible to watch. And the film doesn't overstay its welcome either. It's only a little bit over 2 hours long, but it never feels like that. It feels like a quick rush. You go into it, and you don't realize that you've been there for 2 hours. You feel like you've only been there for about maybe an hour and a half at least. But they did a very good job of condensing this down to a point where you can get out feeling very satisfied with what you did. Unlike what Michael Bay did with the last two movies, where he thought 3 hours of nothing but bland characters, TNA shots, and fights where you can't even see them, and storylines that don't make a whole lot of sense. That's what we need in those movies. No. This movie perfectly sums up what it takes to make a really good live-action Transformers movie, because you have the talent there, directing-wise, writing-wise. It just works on that front. And I'm really... The only other thing I want to bring up is there is a little stinger at the end of the movie, which if you don't want to hear that right now, I'll go ahead and pause this right here so you can go ahead and step away from it, because I'm going to get into spoilers here. But I'll just end it right here on that front by saying that this is a pretty damn good movie. This is a really solid piece of entertainment. It's not going to be a movie that I consider a classic by any means, but in terms of a Transformers movie that not only delivers on everything it promises it just works so well. It's a film that's just incredible to watch. It's just an amazing film. It's good fun summer escapism entertainment. That's the best way I can describe it. So, on that front, I give the movie a good thumbs up. A good thumbs up meaning that you can go into it, have a good time with it. You don't feel like you're being talked down to. You get everything you want and then some. It's a great film. I really recommend checking it out. So, with that said, let me go ahead and get on to the spoilers. So I'm not going to go too long into this because there's really one big spoiler that happens at the end of the movie. Michael Kelly plays a character called Agent Burke, and at the end of the movie, the main character, Noah, goes into a tenant interview for what he thinks is going to be a security job, but he finds out that he's actually being invited to join this secret government organization. And if you know that Hasbro, of course the company that put Transformers, you know what else they put out, and that is, of course, G.I. Joe. So yes, they are setting up that Transformers and G.I. Joe have a shared universe, which is very cool, which is pretty friggin' amazing when you really think about it, because let's just delve into why this is so interesting. See, back in 2021, there was actually a group of people that were brought together to write a potential crossover with Transformers, G.I. Joe, and some of the other Hasbro properties, such as Gems, such as Micronauts, Visionaries, Knights of the Magic Light, Mask, ROM. Like, they were really planning on doing this, and in early May, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. May 21, I should say. the producer Lorenzo di Bonaventura said that the writers' room, who was brought in to create the plans for this, which included Michael Chabon, Brian K. Vaughan, Nicole Perlman, John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, Joe Robert Cole, Genevieve Robertson Duarte, who's written some notable films, many of them including the recent Dungeons & Dragons movie, Inside Out, Captain Marvel, Game Night, films that we've talked about in the past. Jeff Pinker was one of the people in there. That eventually failed, and they said that would not move forward. So 2 years later, they basically just say that we are indeed doing this. We're definitely doing a crossover with the Transformers series and G.I. Joe and Transformers, which I think is a pretty damn good idea, because the G.I. Joe movies that came out in the last 15 years, they're all fun movies. I really like G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra for how silly it gets at times, but it does have some really cool action sequences. G.I. Joe Retaliation, I think, is a very good film. Even Snake Eyes, which I won't say is the great film overall, but it definitely has a lot more to it than I think a lot of people give it credit for. It's not a great film overall, but it works fine for what it is. I'm really excited to see what they'll do with it when they bring Transformers and G.I. Joe together. I mean, I think this could be something that could be really incredible to see happening here, and I'm really curious to see who will play who. I think they said they want to bring in Michael Keaton in there for the G.I. Joe, is to lead off the G.I. Joe series, which I think could be really good. Because it's Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton usually could usually be pretty damn good in movies, and I say this even though I'm still very skeptical about The Flash, but I digress. But yeah, when they teased that at the end of the movie, I was really excited. I thought to myself, that is how you should do it. That is what I'm talking about. That is what I think should happen there. I'm really excited to see what they'll do when they bring these two together. And this movie did pretty well, so assuming nothing crazy happens, I think this will indeed happen in the next couple of years. And I'm really excited to see that happen. I really would like to see these two come together. I think it could be very fun to see what they do with that. Yeah, with all that said, I think that's really I like what they did there. I think that's really all I have to say about the movie that hasn't already been said already. Like I said, I really thought it was a good time. Not a classic by any means necessary, but a good, fun piece of summer escapism entertainment. I give it a thumbs up. And so with that said, next week, I will. It tells you that everyone's looking forward to The Flash. I'm looking forward to Elemental. I'm really hoping that the mixed word of mouth is nothing compared to what the film actually is like, because the movie has not been getting the best word of mouth in terms of critic-wise, and most people who saw the film at the Cannes Film Festival were only mixed on it. So I'm hoping that movie turns out to be pretty good. I'll try to see The Flash, but again, my top priority next week is seeing Elemental. And considering that the next couple of weeks there's going to be movies that I'm going to try to see. No Hard Feelings comes out in the following week. Indiana Jones, of course, comes out the next week. There's also Ruby Gilliam. And the closest I could probably get to seeing a movie like The Flash or even Ruby Gilliam would probably be in July after Indiana Jones, because July 7th, Insidious The Last Key, Insidious The Red Door, I should say. Last Key was the last one. Insidious The Red Door comes out. I'm not really excited to see that movie, although I will say that trailer that they had during the NBA Finals really did get me. If you want to see that, I'll put it to the corner there so you can see for yourself. But yeah, next week it'll be all about Elemental. I'm curious to see if this movie actually is a lot better than people are letting on, so we'll see what happens there. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know how you thought about Transformers, the series as a whole, this movie. I want to hear what you thought of the idea of them bringing in G.I. Joe into the mix, because like I said, I think that could lead to a ton of cool things. But let me know down below. So with that said, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. So until then, take care.